and welcome to ANCDecides, the show that gives you up-to-the-minute updates, commentary and analysis building up to the ANC's elective conference. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabala. Let's take a look at what's making headlines today. The Free State ANC top structure will remain in office until the next provincial congress. This comes after the High Court dismissed an application to have its legitimacy set aside. ANC provincial chairperson's influence on branch delegates under the spotlight. Stanley Mathabata is accused of imposing presidential candidate Cyril Ramaphosa, while questions remain about Mpumalanga's David Mabuza. ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe addresses the Cadres Forum in KZN South Coast. Mantashe is accused of favouring Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa in the ANC succession race. In news just in, the Free State ANC top structure will remain in office until the next provincial congress. This follows a court ruling setting aside an application to have the PEC disbanded. Some ANC members challenged the legitimacy of the provincial structure. That was after its term of office expired in May. The province had earlier planned to have the provincial congress in August, but it was subsequently converted into a Cadres Forum. A court order has since set down the provincial conference for December, just weeks before the ANC's national conference. We're now joined on the phone line by ANC spokesperson in the province, Thabo Miko. Thabo, a warm welcome to you. Now, the matter questioning your PC's legitimacy has in fact been struck off the roll. What's your take on this?
No, we welcome, at least in how the court is interpreting both the constitution of the ANC and the processes of the African National Congress. But it remains that our understanding is that this court had nothing to do with those technical issues, but has got everything to do with the National Conference of the ANC. So indeed, the ANC as a whole, not only in the province, because any other outcome would have serious ramifications and implications to the African National Congress as a whole. So we're very, very happy and welcoming this particular outcome. The ANC will have peace and stability in the province to organize its conference that is sitting on the 1st to the 3rd of December, which in itself is a product of the court outcome.
Now, Thabo, if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying those that pursued this matter did so with some sort of agenda perhaps to influence the elective conference in December. Is that what you're saying?
Certainly. It cannot be that when the province has taken a decision that our conference is convened for the month of November, we're making a special case to National to exempt us. Preparations of the provincial conference are way ahead. Everything else is ready. We've done the political work, the organizational work to prepare for congresses, and people are still going to the court. It is an opportunism and the abuse of the courts in our country and a deliberate distortion of the ANC constitution to tilt the balance of forces with regard to issues of numbers of the leadership issues come December. So we're very happy that the court have seen these things and have taken a proper decision.
And then what if some came out and say that such issues where they're now perhaps ventilated in court is perhaps indicative of a problem within your dispute resolution processes, that people find themselves having to air out concerns in court? What would you say to that? Is there a problem with dispute resolutions?
The Provincial Executive Committee has oversized over and over again. In fact, we've even gone to the extent of convening a cadres assembly so that members of the ANC can confess to each other. They can be able to sit around the table and engage around the problems facing the ANC, if there are any, but fundamentally, what type of the African National Congress do we want into the future, the issues of the leadership and all of that. We're continuing to call even up until now. Everybody else must bring forward his membership to the branch of the leadership of the branch. Everybody else who has got a grievance about any other thing and everything must come forward and discuss those issues with a view to resolve them. Despite all of those efforts, people are still taking a shortcut and going to the court hoping that the court will resolve complex and difficult political issues of the African National Congress.
No, Thabo Miko, ANC spokesperson in the Free State, thank you very much for joining us. Now, a storm is brewing over ANC presidential candidates and who host their campaigns in various regions. The Sekhukhune region in Limpopo is disputing rumors that it's favoring one candidate over the other. This dispute comes after Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma held a successful campaign in the Sekhukhune region. A Cyril Ramaphosa event was also held nearby. Now, the provincial chairperson, Stanley Mathabata, is caught up in the crossfire as he's accused of taking Ramaphosa's side. Meanwhile, this raises questions about provincial chairperson's influence over branch delegates at the national conference.
Been talking to our branches throughout the province to support our move of ensuring that Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma becomes the president of the ANC in December. For example, the branch where the provincial chairperson of the ANC comes from, ANC branch in Sekhukhune, and that's Mutuality sub-region, Janjin branch. It will be among the branches which will support Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini, despite the fact that the premier, the chairperson of the ANC, is from that branch.
Let me indicate that in that region we have given branches their constitutional responsibility to ensure that they interact, they lobby each other, so that finally they will then have to convene their BBGMs and BGMs for the nomination processes. And as a region, we have made it clear that there is no way as the REC we can impose decisions to the branches. Because once you take a particular posture as the REC, you are actually saying you are now becoming factional, you are becoming preferential, undermining that issues of elections depends on preference by different branches. A father figure as leadership that is going to preside over these BGMs, it will be important that you build and assure trust to those branches by not taking a particular preference and allow them, because it is their mandate, even in terms of the guidelines and the Constitution.
We now cross over to our reporter Lemogang Foke, who's out in Limpopo. Lemogang, a warm welcome to you. We understand there's disputes over some sort of favoritism following the two front-runners' visit in the province. What exactly is going on?
A very good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and thank you very much indeed as the journey to unfolding and unrooting those discussions at branches, at also regional levels. I must say, a lot of different views that are coming out in terms of the preferred candidates of those regions, of those branches. You would also remember that Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was in the province just over the weekend on a number of campaign events. And I must say, in the Sekhukhune region, on the same day, in the same area, we also had an event also under the name CR17 for obviously front runner as well as Cyril Ramaphosa. And you know, we spoke with the region today, and just to get an understanding as to what is the message that is really coming out of that region. We saw the numbers that were in attendance in that Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma event compared to those of the number that was represented in the Cyril Ramaphosa event. And one would ask, really, would it be that Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has some kind of stronghold in that region or not? And also we've heard rumors about the chairperson Stanley Mathabata having close ties with the deputy president Cyril Ramaphosa, and also how that could potentially affect the outcomes of what is being said in that region, given also the fact that Stanley Mathabata is from that particular region. But just to unpack all of that for us, I have with me Kgothatso Shai, who is the head of the political science department at the University of Limpopo. Kgothatso, thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of this situation? What is likely to happen in Sekhukhune region?
Thank you very much for hosting me, and let me greet you and also greet the viewers. I think really the situation and how the political developments in the ANC and the country are unfolding currently in the context of the preparations towards the ANC elective conference in December are reflective of the depth of the conflict, but not only the conflict, but differences within the leadership cycles in the ANC, but even within the membership itself. In the case of Sekhukhune, it's really difficult to tell as to who has got a foothold between CR and also between the lobby group of Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, because you must understand, regardless of the alleged endorsement of Sir Ramaphosa by the Sekhukhune region, you have to understand that the endorsement of the leadership of a particular region does not necessarily translate into an endorsement by the delegates or the branches of that particular region. But at the same time, as you have heard, that some of the leaders of the Sekhukhune region have decided to distance themselves from an endorsement which was allegedly made over the weekend. It's because of the fact that the leadership also itself, it is not in agreement in terms of who should succeed Jacob Zuma as the president of the ANC and ultimately the country. But however, all this boils down to the fact that the politics of the ANC, either at the regional, provincial, or even national level, are currently conducted within, really a toxic environment. So people do not have a liberal space and even time to really come out very clearly and honestly in terms of who do they support, who they do not support, because of the fear for reprisals in case their preferred candidate does not emerge as a successful president after the conference of the ANC in December.
Now, you look at the Youth League in the province as well as the Women's League. They have declared Nkosazana as their preferred candidate. But also when you look at their relationship with the chairperson of the province, how do you think that will affect the outcomes, or rather leading up to the conference?
Indeed, I must say that the differences between the ANC Youth League in Limpopo province and the ANC leadership under Stanley Matawata in the province is not a recent development. The differences are quite historical. This must be something that must be understood within the context that you will remember that during the erstwhile leadership of the Castle Matale had a very cozy relationship with the ANC Youth League because during his term of office, most of the members of the leaders of the ANC Youth League we empowered in terms of receiving or getting tenders, economic opportunities, and so forth and so on. You will remember, this was at the time when also Julius Malema was still the leader, the president of the ANC Youth League, and his closer relationship with the then premier and also the chairperson of the ANC in the province. He was able to really influence the then provincial executive of the ANC and also to a particular extent that of the Limpopo government to really channel business opportunities in favor of the youth. And we have not seen that really happening, even if it has been happening under the term of office of Stan Matawata. It has been really at a very, very limited scale. So really, I must say that these differences are not really about service delivery to the people. It's about him having closed the so-called taps in terms of directing business opportunities towards the youth. It's not really about capacity, efficiency in terms of running of government, efficiency, and so forth and so on.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Kgothatso Shai, who is the head of Department of Political Science at the University of Limpopo. Unfortunately, that is what we have for you right now. Back to you, Mfundo.
No, thank you very much, Lemogang. That's our reporter, Lemogang Foke, who's out in Limpopo. Now, today in studio, we're joined by political analyst Papano Pasha and Tepo Khadima. Panel, welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. Now, Papano, just perhaps to start with you. It's said that the power must lie with the branches. But here we still have to talk about the supposed influence that chairpersons have. It seems that the current chair is losing his grip on power. What would you say are really, I know he's spoken at length, the professor there at University of Limpopo, but what do you believe are really the problems here? Because Castle Matale had his own issues, and now we have Stanley with his own issues. Is it not a systemic problem within Limpopo generally?
If you look or if you check the history of Limpopo, in terms of the ANC, it has always been divided. It has, even with Castle Matale, one could actually say that there was no cohesion. So what we are seeing now, it's not new, but the dynamics, for example, in relation to the ANC Youth League have changed. As my colleague there said, previously the ANC Youth League, the ANC Women's League in the province had, a cordial relationship with the former chairperson, Castle Matale. So what we have seen since he was deployed by the ANC, there have been a lot of misunderstanding. If you recall, Castle was not actually chosen initially. It was not ANC branches which had actually elected him. He went there after the Limpopo government was under administration, when he was deployed as a former diplomat. But now, in relation to your chairpersons provincial chairpersons, if you look at the ANC organizationally, the powers of the provinces are derived from regions, precisely because regions oversee branches. As you correctly say, it is branches who hold the powers in terms of your election and who gets elected. But now what we have seen is also that provincial chairpersons also have the power in terms of patronage. So now their power is related to money and patronage. Mm-hmm. That's why you see...
So what you're saying is that these chairs have the ability to create circles of patronage. That becomes the problem, that the power can then be centralized if I can give certain things to certain people. So what does it mean in this instance? What is happening?
Well, what needs to happen? The current challenge that is facing many ANC branches, and perhaps it's a problem post-1994, is that branches of the ANC do not understand the power that they have. What they've done is that they have sat back and given all this power to your leadership. So the leadership at the moment, it's actually top-down, it's not bottom-up. If we could actually say that what they would say in the ANC is that amandla semasebeni. In this case, it's not the case. The power lies with your chairpersons, with those who hold power, because, as you rightly say, they can decide, they can dangle a carrot to say that these are the opportunities which are there. So what they normally do, they would, provincial chairpersons would normally support a regional chairperson so that they're able to control the regions. But over and above that, because provinces also oversee regions, they also have administrative powers. So in a way, it's a problem because, provincial chairpersons are not giving branches and regions of the ANC, the ability to run their own affairs. Mm-hmm. And it's a problem.
Let's rope in Tepo there. Tepo, your take on this, what exactly divides the branches in Limpopo? Because here they have the NWC document, the Eye of the Needle, which talks about giving back the power to the people. That is essentially what they're meant to do. But here it seems the branches have no power, and it's either circles of patronage are being created. What do you think really divides the ANC in Limpopo?
Historically, if we look at it, I think the real first contest for leadership started in the Polokwane conference in 2007. And during that time, we had effectively the incumbent then, former President Thabo Mbeki, who some would say that had total grip on the ANC structures throughout the country. And of course, that was the real context, and it proved otherwise, that it doesn't matter how much leverage that any one leader, either from the region, the branch, or even the province, they might think that they have, that the people, by and large, it becomes difficult. Leadership is about influence. And once you are put in position of leadership, and you are not able to influence, you have not mastered the art of persuasion, it becomes exceedingly difficult. You cannot decree anything. You can't issue an edict that people shall vote as follows, because they won't. And we saw that in 2007, we saw that in 2012, and I suspect that this year, 2017, we're going to see exactly the same pattern emerge. Will Limpopo be unified? My own assessment is that absolutely not. Limpopo is one of those provinces where effectively you got to look at the regions, but the regions you got to look at the branches. How those branches, as the numbers start to come up. But I don't think that you can really be able to decree anything. But also I just wanted to reflect on the situation in the Free State. For me, it's not surprising that the courts now, I think they are much more alert. They will bring to an end this John Wayne style of lone rangers, whereby you got one or two members of the ANC who will take the ANC to court on the basis that they are an aggrieved party without substantiating exactly what fundamentally has been violated in terms of the Constitution of the Republic, because the Constitution of the ANC is subject to the Constitution of the Republic. And in their inability to do so, I cannot see how the courts can legally sustain orders that at the end of the day are helping lone rangers. And I think that movie is going to come to an end quickly.
But we cannot rule out perhaps them challenging the outcome of that
I can't see
PEC.
them holding courts any longer in courts, because the courts will have to take into account that in a mass democratic movement, you can't have a lone ranger holding everybody to ransom without first and foremost fundamentally substantiating what constitutional rights and Constitution of the Republic in that case have been infringed upon, and most of them are not able to do that. I think the courts will very quickly realize that is the terrain they should not be in. They are not movie producers. They are to administer the law, and people need to only bring real, legitimate legal grievances and not political things, which in any case, the majority in a democratic environment are the ones. So if you've got an aggrieved party of 50% of the membership of a structure of the ANC that says we are aggrieved, therefore we did not find a relief when we approached the relevant higher structures as an aggrieved party, we are now resorting to the court. I think the courts would listen to that. But this thing of lone rangers, I can't see how the courts can legally sustain it.
But we cannot say that it would just be a numbers game, that only 50%. You could be 7 or 8 members that are aggrieved, but I suppose if you're pushing forward a legitimate argument, then the courts could hear you.
Because Constitution of the Republic. You have to say the Constitution of the Republic, my right has been infringed upon. But without substantiating that, I just cannot see how anyone can hold courts legally. Look, I'm saying the Free State outcome should not surprise us. And going forward, because there's been others who have been buoyed by some of the erroneous, in my opinion, court judgments we've seen of late, and now they've been believing that they can be lone rangers approaching the courts for relief without exhausting all mechanisms. I just cannot see how the courts can legally sustain unless the Constitution of the Republic is infringed upon.
You seem to be bogged down on the numbers, and I still maintain that it can be one person. But if your right has been infringed upon, yes. And if the courts, but in this case, yes, it was struck off the roll.
Constitution of the Republic.
Yeah, but one other thing. Remember in 2012, towards Mangaung, there was a precedent which was set, not necessarily within the courts. Free State, it was disbanded. So PEC members actually contested as branch members. So I think that was the thinking of the faction of Thabo Manyoni, to say that
if the Ramakatsas could succeed.
Yes. So that the PEC or PEC members don't go to the national conference as a PEC. So it will mainly be branches. So that's how they wanted to manage the process. But as Tsapo correctly says, it is quite unfortunate that we've reached a level where ANC members need to go to court. But we should also recognize that the SG's office has also failed ANC members. We have cases where, branch members have taken their complaints to the SG, and they've never been resolved, from all sides. So the SG has really failed ordinary ANC members. But in the case of the Free State, surely they wanted to rule through the courts. They did not want to contest through branches, because if you look at the Free State, it looks as if regionally and in terms of branches, as Mahashula has done a lot of groundwork. So they were just taking chances.
Now on to the Northwest, we'll come back to that point. Now ANC branches are starting to give indications about their preferred presidential candidates. This comes as branches prepare for their branch general meetings. The ANC Swaying region in the Northwest is laying the groundwork ahead of the national conference in December. Now, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is emerging as the frontrunner ahead of rival Cyril Ramaphosa. However, the branches are yet to have their branch general meetings where they'll conclude their nominations. Meanwhile, it remains to be seen if Northwest branches and regions will speak with one voice as provincial structure.
Our wish is to see a situation where the leadership of the ANC or the ANC is going to be elect by a woman president, and then we want somebody who's caring, and then we believe that the current leader who has been nominated as a leader for the ANC at national level will be able to do that.
And then just closing remarks panel, maybe we'll start with you, Tsepo. The unity that we're seeing in Mpumalanga, is that a bit of a phenomenon? What's your take on everything that's happening in Mpumalanga now? Because the Premier seems to have some sort of a consolidated team there.
It's all about influence, the style of a leader in any one region or structure to be able to live through influence and persuasion. Any other way, you can't decree anything else. And lastly, I just want to agree with Papano here that, perhaps I think going forward, the office of the Secretary General of the ANC needs to be capacitated, specifically in terms of administration as well as legal matters, because most of the problems that end up in court should not be there had there been legal capacity within the office of the SG. And it's something that they need to pay particular attention to, because the SG of the ANC is equivalent to a chief executive officer in a multinational corporation. That's how large it is, because if you've got over 1 million people that are your members, now you are running a real serious organization. Capacity must be there, must be a non-negotiable.
Papano, your take? Because some of us were ignorant enough to think there must be a legal team that works with the SG to make sure that, no, this case we won't win, let's try and resolve it. So there clearly is no legal assistance in that respect.
No, if I may start with the question that you asked initially about Titi Mabuza. I think ANC members must be afraid to have a provincial chairperson who behaves as a kingmaker. It's quite unfortunate, despite the issue of influence. It cannot be that ANC members are meant to decide who should lead based on influence. Remember, the ANC is a revolutionary movement.
Papano, you're touching something and we have to close the show.
It's important that ANC members are guided by the revolutionary ideas of the ANC and the historical mission of the ANC. Now to have chairpersons or a chairperson who believes that he can sway his card, people can just come to him and...
It's official, you invited. You need to tell us why you have a problem with a kingmaker, because we've all been punting this theory of a kingmaker, but unfortunately that's where we have to end it. Now on to our poll question for this week. It's, should the ANC government make tertiary education free for all? Do give us your views on our Twitter. Our handle is @ANN7TV, or visit our website. It's www.ann7.com. And that's where we leave it. Heated conversations just at the end. But thank you. Have a great one.